Welcome to the Officer Training video offered by the Center for Student Involvement at Kansas State University. In today's video, we will be providing an overview of how to manage your student organization in OrgCentral. Topics covered in this video include an overview of OrgCentral, group management, group settings and the feed, communicating with members, creating and managing events, surveys and forms, and storing important documents.
Welcome to Campus Groups. When you log in, the first thing that you're going to be asked to do is fill out your profile. I'm sure many of you, since you're on this call, have already done that. Just know that whenever you fill out your profile, that's going to ask you to add some things like your favorite interests, sports, careers, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that's going to help to be able to connect you with other users in the platform. If you do want to go back to any of that stuff, you can click in this top right corner here on your account. And here you can edit your profile and even view your profile. So if you want to edit anything there, you can do that. I will say some of these things may be locked. You might not be able to edit some of these items, but a lot of these things you will be able to. Also on this page and also on this drop down, you also see your notification settings and privacy settings. You can add your password and log out right there as well. These notification settings are big because you can change those settings for the platform as a whole, as well as all the individual groups you're in, whether you're an officer or just a member of that group. You can change a lot of those settings. Other than that, you'll see your notifications. You'll be able to bookmark certain pages that you like. This is just a sustainability link to your school's website. And then here you can also search the platform. Most of you aren't going to have to worry about this admin key. This is more so for administrators. So you won't see that. You'll then have your chats. So you can chat with other people on the platform. You can see all the upcoming events and then a list of all groups in the system. This list also will include not only your clubs and organizations, it will also include things like departments and other things in here as well. So everything within campus groups is done within a group. So whether you're an administrator, a student, staff, whatever, you're going to be doing everything pretty much within your group. And then we have your homepage here, which this is probably going to be changing fairly often, but you will see your upcoming events, our training today as well. And then you'll also see on the left menu some campus resources, as well as probably the most important one here is your activity. So you'll be able to see your groups, your events, your forums, everything that you're using in the system. You can find right here easily. And then also the news feed. So we're going to start by just going right into the news feed right here. All right, so whenever you get to this page, by default, it's going to bring you to the community feed. You'll see you do already have one post in your community feed, and you'll also probably see some other posts as well. So the community feed is going to be, it's one feed in which has your administrators can post and make announcements and a welcome video like this. But you'll see this was posted on the general community feed. If you have other groups that you're a part of, that you're a member of, all of those posts will also show up on this page. So think your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things that you follow will show up on this feed like an activity feed. Within here, you'll also see all of your groups and your recently looked at groups. So you can find them just by clicking on the feed. You'll also be able to see the feed here as well. So you can search for any groups just by searching here. And you can also click on all groups, and this will bring you to all groups that are in the system. I assume most of you already have groups that are already created, but you can register new ones right here. And you can search for other groups on this page. So you can filter by different categories, and you can filter just by your groups. And then you also do have types. So you can kind of break it down to like your student orgs, as well as your different categories. So maybe you want to look at student orgs that are academic, you can filter by that and find this one group. I also will say, if anyone does have questions throughout the call, please feel free to throw them in the chat or just interrupt me, unmute yourself, go for it. I do like to keep this casual, so just let me know if you have any questions along the way. Yeah, so we're going to go here and we're going to go into a group. So we'll start by taking a look at the student involvement group. So if you are an officer of that group, it's going to bring you right into the manage page of the group. So this manage page is like your backend officer view of managing it. This is how you send your emails, create your events, all of that. If you are a member, you just go right into the group page, which is right here. So you'll see here, by default, you'll always have the home page, but there is a setting to make the landing page the about page instead. And that basically allows you to do this great customization and do a little welcoming section right here. You'll see your group, you'll see some social media, your officers, and some other information. Up here, you'll also see your upcoming events, your documents, photos, news, and more. This whole top section here is editable just by clicking on settings. And you can choose which ones of those sections you want to include. So if I don't want to include photos, I can turn that off. That photo section won't appear. If I want to include a newsletter, but maybe we don't call it the newsletter, we call it the weekly bee or something like that, I can go in and just change the name right here. You do also have that about section, which we were showing you earlier. We had this great custom content. So if you want to add any custom content like this, you can do that. Just add it on the page description. Like I said, everyone is going to, by default, land on the home page, which is going to look like this, show your recent posts and events and all that. But if you want to land on the about page instead, you can just click on settings. And you can check this box that is make the about section landing page. There are a few other settings here. The ones I do like to point out is not allowing your members to post on your feed. So if you want only officers to be able to post, you can check this box, and we'll talk about the feed in just a second. And the other option is allow members to submit events. So by default, officers are only able to create events for their group. If you check this box, a member will be able to create that event, but it won't be published, or at least it won't even go through the approval process until an officer in that group gives it the okay. So these are the basic settings. Any questions so far? Is everything making sense? Any questions about this page before we look at our channels over here?
Hey, Joe, just to go ahead and make a quick note, the Center for Student Involvement here at K-State, we have gone through and preset every organization's group page to default to that About tab, like you were just showing. So for all of you organization leaders, when you log in, you'll, like Joe said, go to the Manage page, but your members will go to the About page.
Well, perfect. Thank you. That's helpful. Cool. All right, so next here, we'll take a look at these channels. So when we go into the left-hand section, you'll be able to see all your channels for that group. You can also, if you click on the three-dot menu, create additional channels. And from here, if you just click channel, you can do public channels and private channels. Like I said before, you have this option to not allow members to post on the feed. This setting will apply to all of the public channels. So if you create any public channels like this general channel, it's going to follow that rule. Whereas a private channel is going to be basically a private channel where you can choose who's in it and who can post. So you can have multiple channels if you'd like. And that channel, if we go into the general channel here, it's just going to have a bunch of different posts. Think of it like your social media for your organization. Again, you have to be a member in order to see this, though. If you're not a member of the group, you won't be able to access this page. Yeah, so some things that we do see is things like having a general channel. You might have like an events channel. You might have a social channel. Think of it as like your Microsoft Teams or Slack or Discord. You can create a bunch of different channels within there as well. But we're going to go ahead and we're probably going to spend the majority of today's call in this manage section. So if you're an officer, again, you'll be brought right to this page, but you can click manage to get right back into it. From here, you'll see the create button in the top right. This is going to bring you up to a bunch of different sections that you can create. And we'll go through these in a bit. But you'll know, just so you know here, everything, you're going to have all these recent sections here that you've looked at. You'll have all these more sections that you'll want to take a look at. But also know everything here is also on the left-hand menu. So these are always going to be out of order because based on how recently you looked, but it'll always stay the same over here. All right, so what we're going to do first is go into our group settings. A lot of this is pretty simple. And Sarah, I'm not sure, and I can take a look here. Are user groups able to edit their group name?
Yes, they are.
Okay, cool, perfect. So a lot of these fields, some of these might be locked, but for the most part, I'm sure you can access most of them. But here you can change your group name. You can change your type as well as the category. So your type, you can only be one of. Your categories, you can be multiple of. And this is really helpful because it's going to allow you to, people will be able to filter when they're looking for groups to join. And then you also have your acronym. If this isn't perfect for your organization, don't worry about it. This is just kind of like a group ID number. It's not really used for many things. It's not very much public facing. It's more of an admin tool. So if this doesn't match exactly what you have, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. We do recommend adding a logo as well as a cover photo. Your cover photo will be your default photo for any event that you have if you don't upload your own cover photo for that event. Next, you can add your mission, membership benefits, goals, constitution, and then you can do things like publish and unpublish your group. Next, we do have the contact information. So here you can put in your group email address. Just know that this has to be an email address that actually exists. This won't actually make the email address. This is just if you have an email address for your group, you can add it in here, as well as some other information. Next, we can change our access and privacy. So when a group does join your group, if we go into this all group section, they would go here, they would click join, and then they would click join, and then you may have to go through some steps in order to join the group. So here, whenever they do try to join, you can add some instructions, and you can set a secret word if you want them to have to use a password to get in. Here you can choose how people are validated, and that what that means is if everyone's auto validated, that means it's an open group. Everyone can join that group. So all they have to do is click join. They can join, no problem. If you set it that only maybe certain types of people here are validated, they'll be able to join. People who don't fit that criteria, then it will send a notification to the officers of the group, and the officers need to give the okay to let that person actually join. So if someone's like, I joined your group, but they're not able to, it's probably just a member that needs to be validated. You can also restrict people from joining your group, like they need to have a .edu address or something like that. You can prevent people from leaving your group, so you can set that. And then also, I think these are kind of good ones here. So you can set it so members can or cannot see each other, or maybe that membership is even private, meaning that if you look at that user's profile, it's not going to show that you're a member of that group. This is great for any group that might be, people might not want others to know that they're in that group. So if it's a sensitive group, that might be something you might want to consider. Here you can set basically your membership information. So does it expire, the default duration for whenever they join their group. We're going to skip payments for now and go into social networks. So I'm sure all of your groups have some social networks. So it's simple. You can just add the information here. This will help to populate on your group page. The recommendation settings isn't a feature that's being used currently that much. Eventually, this is going to be used so that people will match based on their own interests with groups who have similar interests. So if this group marked acting as an interest and a user marked acting on their profile, eventually we're going to have a suggestion for that. But for now, you don't need to worry about this section. And then lastly, we have the more section. Mostly the only thing you need to worry about here is an automated welcome message if you want to add that. So when someone does join your group, you can use these email templates here to create an email that will automatically go out. And those users will get that when they join the group. Other than that, you can set up your forum settings. You can default BCC or CC certain users on every email. So if you have an advisor that wants to make sure they're BCC'd on everything, you can add their email here. And then same thing here with like some more feed settings and a few other items. Any questions so far about any of these general settings here? This advanced section, only administrators are going to be able to see. So most of you, again, don't need to worry about that. Cool, perfect. All right. Next thing here is we're going to just keep going down and take a look at our officers. When you go into officers, here you'll be able to see a list of all of your current officers within the group. You can make them not active as an officer, so remove them. You can make them the main contact, and you can say if they're going to show up publicly for the group. So someone goes to the group page, is it going to show this person as an officer? You can change their position. So we have multiple different positions, but also this helps for the administrators to easily reach out to people and for groups to see who holds what positions within that group. But let's say you do have a custom position, you can add that as well. So maybe you don't call yourself president, you call yourself chancellor. You can make yourself president, but also make it a custom position. If you want to add any officers, you just click add officer, and then you can search people within the system. They need to exist within the system for you to add them. You can then change the permissions for every officer within the group. So maybe only certain officers can do certain things like editing settings, creating events, sending emails, and so on. And then you can also change your notifications for each officer. So maybe every officer, you don't want to get notified every time a new member has been added. You can change that notification here. And on that note, we're going to move over to our members. So your members, if you do have anyone that is trying to join the group, you'll have a little notification at the top here that says you have members needing validation. If that's the case, you can simply click on that button and you'll be able to validate them and add them into your group. But if you want to add additional members, you can just click add member. And again, it's just searching for those users or pasting a list of email addresses. You do also have the option, you'll see here, you have your current members, you can see past members, and you can see contacts. So contacts are going to be anyone who pretty much has interacted with the group that's not a member. So maybe you had an event on campus that was open to the public or to non-members and they attended the event. That would make them a contact. So this is a good way if you want, like have a newsletter, you want to send it out to people who maybe have interacted with the group. You can do that as well. And you can also, add contacts into your system as well. From here, though, if you do want to reach out to your members, you can do so by simply selecting all, and you can either send a mobile notification or an email. So the mobile notification is only going to work for people if they have the app downloaded. So then it will come up on their phone, kind of like a Twitter DM or a Facebook, Instagram DM. But it will also come in as a notification here as well. But then you can also send an email and you can generate a report. I'll pause for a second. Any questions about any of this stuff? Next, we're going to take a look at actually sending an email and what that looks like.
Joe, a couple notes from the Center for Student Involvement. One, going back to, can groups change their name? I was wrong. No, they can't. So if your organization wants to update your group name in OrgCentral, just contact the Center for Student Involvement and we will assist you. And then also when you are adding members by email, as Joe was just showing, make sure you're using @k-state.edu as the email domain. @ksu.edu will not work. And then here for us at K-State, we will be launching the mobile app version of this in spring. So something to look forward to.
Awesome, cool. So those mobile notifications will still work. They'll just come into your notification section here. We do have a question about how do you actually join a group. So that's simply you just go to all groups listed right here. And from here, you'll see the list of all organizations and you'll see this join checkbox and you just click join and then join, and then you'll follow any of the rules that that group has set. All right, cool. All right, let's take a look at actually sending an email. So as a officer of a group, you'll only be able to really communicate, send emails to people who are either members or contacts. So you can do that here by going to your list of members or contacts. You can select all. You can even filter by the type of, if they have any tags, if they are a certain grad year, or even if you have certain tags within your group. So these tags are right here. So you can create kind of like subgroups within your group. So maybe you might have like a certain committee and you just want to add a tag like they're part of that committee. You can do that right here. But we'll just select all and we'll click send email. And from here, you'll see there are two options. So the email composer and the email builder. The composer is the more simple one. Think your standard like Gmail. We'll start with that one. So we can click email composer. And from here, you'll see your recipient list. You can add additional people just by searching here or adding the email address here and entering. But by default, you'll only be able to select at the start people who are your members. You can also BCC, CC people as well. And if you click that push notification, that's just, again, going to be a notification that goes in here as well. Next, we choose who the email is coming from. So it's going to come from one of the officers within your group or your group email address. So that's what it's going to look. It's sending through our system, but it's going to look like it's coming from one of you. You can then set a subject. You can set different templates here if you want to use that. And there's also mail merge fields. So if you want to like pull in the user's first name, you can do that. So maybe I want to say, hi, first name, that will pull in the user's first name. And then it's just like any other email. You just have your basic settings here, and then you preview it and save and send. All right, so we're going to go back here to our emails. This is the other way you can email people. So the first was to go into your members, select them, and send email. The second here is to go into emails, and then you can compose email. And then you can select your recipient. So maybe you just want to send it to your members, your officers, maybe people with a certain tag within your group. So we'll just send it to members here, and then we'll click compose. And from this page, it will bring you to, again, one of two choices. This time we'll take a look at the email builder. Email builder is going to have a lot of the same settings. It's just going to look a little bit different. You'll set all of this information. You'll choose a template, and then you can design. And this is going to be a way that you can create a cool, more customized email. So let's see, this is taking a bit to load. There we go. So it's very easy to use. It's just a drag and drop. You'll see I can pull in images if I want. And you just drag it in and then choose the image that you'd like to add. You can pull in different events from within your system. So you pull it over and then you get to choose which events you want to include. So I'm just going to click select events here. You'll be able to just choose events from your group, but you can just select the events you'd like to add and click insert selected events and then save. And this will then bring up a nice little list of all of your events. You can also do that if you want to highlight a certain event. So you can pull this over, you select that individual event and insert it. So it's really easy to use. A lot of this is dynamic, such as bringing in events, your news articles, your officers, all of that kind of stuff is dynamic. And then again, you can just go in and edit the text simply right here. Once you do this, you then click into your click boxes. And click boxes are just like good recommendations of things that you can add at the bottom of your email. So these are just more additional items. So we'll just add both of these so you can see what it looks like. And then you click delivery and you can schedule it. We always recommend if it is a large email, if you're sending to like thousands of people, we do recommend that you schedule it ahead of time, even if it is just a day. It just will send a lot quicker. And then you can preview it and you'll be able to see what it looks like. So now we didn't put in a lot of information, but it will look something like this. And those are those click boxes at the end. So this is a great way that you can kind of customize your emails that you're sending out. Very easy to use. Any questions about sending emails? I will say you do also have the option to create templates. So if you are doing a newsletter, you might want to create a template that has that basic standard setting, and then from there you can customize it. All right. Next, we're going to go and take a look at events. So when you are creating an event, you go into your events here. You just click create events. For every event that you've had, you can also pull some reporting on it. You can just go to past events. And then from here, you can pull some attendance tracking information, as well as you can do a download report for all of your events. But we'll go ahead and click create event. And there's a lot of information in this. We're going to fly through this pretty quickly because there is so much, but it is pretty simple to use. It's as simple as just adding a name, description, choosing your event type. And then if you want to add any tags, you can do that as well. So you can only have one type, but you can have multiple tags. You can then choose your event coordinator. So again, this is going to be officers of your group, the person who's hosting the event, but you can add additional people right here as well. You can set the date and the time of the event, and you can also set some custom time instructions. So for example, maybe your event's at 1 o'clock, but registration or check-ins at 12:30, you can add that here. And then you can also set some recurring event settings. So maybe it's going to be every Monday. You can make it recurring as well. From here, you can set where the event is going to be, the location, and if people are able to see that location. So especially if it's an online event, You might want to make it so only people who actually have registered to the event can actually see the Zoom link. Otherwise, anyone can just join. So you can add that meeting link right here if you do plan to use that. You can then add a photo and a flyer. Just pay attention to the dimensions here. You can say what food is going to be at the event or attach any items you'd like. You can set who's able to register. So maybe you have an event that is, only for your group members. So you might want to set to group members only, or maybe it's only for undergraduate students. So you can't register unless you're an undergraduate student. So maybe we'll set it to undergrad students only, but everyone's still going to see that that event exists. So when they go to the event calendar here, they'll still see that that event exists. Or we can say only the people who are allowed to register are the only people that will be able to see the event. We do have some registration options. This is going to be basically your tickets to the event. If you don't want to use our system, if you have some other third-party system that you're using, you can add the link to that here. But within our system, here you can create your different tickets. So you can add multiple options. You can set the price, the quantity, a waiting list if you'd like, a minimum, a maximum, a sales start date, cancellation deadline, all of this stuff you can customize here. You can do that for each ticket. As well as set the access rights. So maybe you have a ticket that's free for your group members. So you want to set the access to group members only. But then you have another ticket that is open up to certain users. You can basically use these filters again. So you can use the tags that you have in the system, as well as your subgroup tags and so on. You can set registration deadlines, attendance limits. You can have people RSVP that they're not attending. You can send a reminder email. This will be sent out the morning of, however many days before the event. You can send a confirmation message. You can show the list of attendees to certain people. So maybe it's kind of like how a Facebook event would work. You could see what friends are attending the event on Facebook. You can set cover photos and even ask for a feedback request. So this is an automated message that will get sent out to people after the event, however many hours afterwards, and it sends them a form that you've pre-built. We do have some attendance tracking options. This is where you can allow people to check in multiple times, do check in, check out, RSVP at the door. We'll talk a bit more about attendance tracking in a second. And I do see a chat in the question in the chat, and it's perfect timing because we're going to talk about that right now. So yes, you can also do time slots. So here you can add additional questions that you might want to ask. There's some default ones here. And whenever they register, you can ask them a question. So maybe you want to ask for a shirt size or something like that. You can do that. And you choose the type of question. Is it text box? Is it drop down? And then also time slots. So if you are doing slots, you can add a slot here. And this will allow you to then customize what times people are available or how many slots are available, how many people can go to each slot. You can add speakers, you can sponsor, you can redirect the URL after they register. You can do a parent event if you do have something like an orientation, for example, or a conference. You can do that parent event with some child events underneath it. So that way only the parent event shows up on the calendar. You can automatically register people to other events. So if they register if it's like a 2-part series, you can, once they register the first part, it then automatically registers to them to the second. For now, we don't have to worry about the cost center code, but you can also add waivers for your events and even co-host the event with another group. And then these other ones you don't really need to worry about. If you do have an event that you are using often, you can create a template. And if you create it, you only have the option for this group, but that will basically create a template. So every time that you create an event, a lot of these items are already filled out for you. That is event creation. I'll pause for a second. Any questions about events before we move on to how to actually track people at your events, how to check people in, all that kind of stuff? Cool. Great. No questions. Let's just keep moving forward then. So we're going to go back into our events, and we'll go into this training, which is today. This is the training that we're doing right now. So we'll take a look at this example and kind of show you how you can kind of track attendance. So if I wanted to track attendance for this event, there's 4 ways. The first way is the mobile app, which I know it's not coming till the spring, but you can look forward to that. When you do have that, you'll be able to scan QR codes with the mobile app. After that, there's a few different options. So you can click track attendance, and there are 3 options. The first is tracking attendance with the computer. This is, think I'm sitting at a table and people are in line coming up to me, telling me their name, or I don't know. Sorry, are you guys using card scanners?
No, actually, we are not.
Okay, cool. So in this case, you'll just be doing searching for the name. So they tell you your name. I can search for them and just check them in just like that. So very simple. In again, whether you have RSVP at the door, it won't let you register someone if you haven't enabled RSVP at the door. So that's the first option, probably what you use the most. The second option here is the self-check-in QR code. And if we click on that, that's going to allow you to check people in with the QR code. So you can post this, you can print it out, put it on a wall, you can put it on a TV screen. And this would mean that people will take their phone, scan the QR code, and that will check them in. Again, once you have the app, it'll be a lot quicker because people will just be able to, they'll already be logged in. But for now, I'd say 99% of phone cameras have a QR scanner in the camera. So you scan it and then it makes you log in and that will check you in. You can also refresh the code every 5 seconds. So that way people can't pretend to be there and get a screenshot of the code from their friends. So you can do that right here. The third option is a self-check-in kiosk. And what this is basically similar to the checking someone in with a computer, except for this is more so a kiosk, like a student is checking themselves in. So they're going up to the computer themselves, searching for their name and registering. And that's pretty much everything that goes into tracking attendance. On this manage page, you also can add people manually here. And then again, you can select all, filter by status, and check in and all that. And you can send out notifications or download reports. And that is everything for events. So any questions on events before we move over to surveys and forms? All right, great. Let's keep moving forward then. We're going to move right below events. You'll see surveys and forms. So surveys and forms are pretty easy to use. You just click create. And from here, you'll see 5 different options. Know that these are all the same thing. It's just a different way to categorize it. So whatever you choose here is just going to allow you to filter by your form, surveys, elections, polls, and quizzes. However, if we want to create a form, we just click create. We choose the form. And then from here, we're brought into our form builder. On this page, we can, first thing is to name the form. And then if you click into the settings, you'll see there are a bunch of settings that you can use. Um, I won't go through all of them. Just know that you can change the open, close date, the access rights, who can actually fill out the form. Is it anonymous? Is there an approval process built into it? And who gets notifications as well. From here, it's simple. If you've used any form builder before, you'll probably find this pretty easy to use. You can have multiple pages, you can add a question, and there's a bunch of different question types. So there is free text, multiple choice, multiple select, multiple choice drop down, paragraph, file uploader, a date picker, a group picker, a ranking question, election question, signatures, quiz, user selector where you get to search for a user in the site, and a rubric. This binding field you don't need to worry about. But from here, I just two that I do want to point out is signature, I'm sorry, election. If you are running any elections, it's as simple as just searching for the user in the site and adding them as the candidate. There's a bunch of different options. You can make mandatory, you can make there a certain amount of authorized answers, so how many people they can pick. And then you do also have the quiz question here. If you do want to assign point values, you can do that. And then once you do that, there also is a setting to set a pass fail. So if there is a quiz that you want to say you have to get 15 points to pass it, you can add that here. Other than that, you can add make it mandatory. You can say only certain types of users will see this question. You can make it active question or remove it and add some additional questions. So in this case, we're just going to do a multiple choice. We'll say test question. And we'll just say add 1, add 2, add 3. Once we save this here, you'll see that we can add additional pages again or additional questions. We'll just add a test question 2 here and save it. Now, there is also the option to duplicate questions. You can move them around. You can edit, delete, and you also have this option to set up logic and hide. So what we mean by logic is they want to say, if you answer 1, then you see test question 2. So to do that, we might want to say, let's hide test question 2. It's not going to show by default, but then I can go into the logic here and create logic and say, if the answer to test question is 1, then we're going to show question 2. There is also the option to do page logic. You can add tags to users. And you can also do a workflow, which is an approval process. We won't go into that today, but we do have some trainings on how to set up workflows if that's something you're interested in doing. This is great for something like if you need to approve of people's forms, you can do that as well. Cool. Any questions about building a survey form?
Can you make additional questions? Because I know you said you can click if they answered 1, then here's this question. Can you make different ones for if they were to answer 2 or 3 or stuff like that?
Yep. Yeah, you can set up as many logics as you want. It can get very complicated. If you'd like to do that, yeah, for sure. You can set up hundreds of logics.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yep.
And I also have a question, and it may be silly, so forgive me. But can these surveys and forms be integrated into events, for, kind of seeing demographics and stuff of people that come?
No, not necessarily. In that case, there is the option to do if you are pulling in that kind of data on user tags. So if you add user tags and export the data, all the user tags will be exported as well. So there is the opportunity to pull in like that demographic information if you'd like, but it's not going to pull from the surveyor form. But there is a way to do that. If you want to do that, that's pretty much setting up tags on the user's profile and then exporting the event, and it will include the user's tags.
Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Any other questions before we move on to files? Perfect. Yeah, it sounds like they're working on adding some tags, so eventually be able to do that. But also, you can add your tags. You can use member tags as well. So if it's just specific to your members, you can add them here. Cool. All right, we're gonna move on to the last part of our training here, which is files. Or maybe we'll also have a second to get into badges. But if we take a look at files, this is a good way to store documents within the system. You can create different folders here. It's very easy to use. Create a folder, and then you upload files into those folders. So maybe you have like your budgeting information, or maybe you have like some meeting minutes or things like that. You can add it here. And then within each one, you can go into the privacy for that folder and set who has access to it. So maybe you want to say only our group members can see this, and we'll set it to show up on our group page. I know right now you're not using the website, so this is more of a down the road thing, but same with the group website. So what we mean by having it show up on the group page is if we do have a file, and we go into our group page here, if we've made that file accessible on the group page, it will show up on the group page right here. Yep. Yeah. There also is the option to make it available just to officers. It can be only available to just your tag members. You have all those options pretty much everywhere within the site. So again, they would show up in this documents page. And right now, this group doesn't have them showing too on the group page, but you can show them on this group page. Yeah, but that's pretty much all that goes into files. It's very easy to use. It's really just creating your folders and uploading the files within there. And then, like I said, you can limit that access for everyone. So again, if we want to go to our privacy here for this folder, we can say it's only available to officers only, or maybe just some of our group members, maybe just the undergraduate students and so on. Cool. Yeah. And then I guess the last thing that I just like to point out, because I do think it's a fun tool, is under more tools, you do also have badges. So these are just badges that you can award to people for doing things in the site. So maybe you want to create a badge that is, attending an event. You set that description here. You can make it a public badge, and it's a user badge, not a group badge. And we can upload our own icon here. There's tons of icons here. Highly recommend these. These are really cool icons. There's tons to choose from. So we can choose that icon. And users will then, when they earn this badge, they'll see it on their profile. So you can do this. You create the badge, and then you set a completion rule. So this completion rule basically allows you to say, okay, maybe they earn this badge if they register to an event that is an event type that is academic, and they do this 5 times, then they earn that badge. You can do it like they have to check in, they need to become a group member of a certain type of group, they have to fill out a certain quiz or book a meeting with someone. They need to send an email or create a survey. There's a ton of different options here that you can play around with, but these are kind of cool. So you can allow people to, just get some profiles. It's a little bit, some badges on your profiles. It's a little bit of a gamification within the site. We do have one question. Is there more layers of user privileges other than officer and member? Pretty much it's just that. You have the officer member. There is contact if you want to use contacts. But again, within your officers, if you go to the officers page here, you do also have the option to limit their levels of access individually. So on this officers page, you have the permissions here that you can limit. And this is all that I had to get through. I did want to save some time for any questions as well. As Sarah, is there anything else that I missed or anything that you want to just shout out?
Took me forever to find my mouse. Well, thank you, Joe. And I still will leave time for questions as well. But we just wanted to say on behalf of the Center for Student Involvement, we're really excited to offer this technology for OrgCentral. Hopefully, as you all have seen, there's a lot of awesome features that your organizations can utilize. And as has kind of been mentioned with the mobile app and things like that, we are planning on rolling out even more features that are currently hidden from you all right now, just to keep things as simple as possible for this transition time. But definitely more exciting things to come in the spring semester and moving forward. So yeah, we're excited to have this, and thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I will echo that statement. Like, I think it's so smart to slowly add things in, and just know that there's so much to the site. There are so many things that you can do that we didn't get to, and there's a lot of things that you might not know of unless you ask. So feel free to reach out to your CSA or to our support center. If there's something you're trying to do and you're not sure how to do it, reach out. We can help you. There's probably a way to do it in our system.
K-State students, you can find some helpful videos on our website, as Joe is showing you right now too. And things for this current platform and to help us help you wrap things up on our old technology as well. But of course, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Center for Student Involvement as well. We'd be happy to help you. I will put our email address in there as well.
Yeah, and I'll also really quickly show as well, we do have our help center here. So we have, I think it's 320 articles in here, and they're broken down by type. So you can just search for example, if you're looking for the recommended dimensions for images within the platform, we do have examples for every image that you need in the site. Or if you're looking how to add officers into your group, there is the option to do that. So there's a ton of different resources on our help center as well. So feel free to check these out. We do also have a group officer overview. So this might be also a helpful article for you.
For more assistance on utilizing OrgCentral, visit the Center for Student Involvement website to find helpful videos, resources, and more. Or contact our staff by emailing studentinvolvement@k-state.edu.